today.
It's awesome.
So now you can talk about getting Dyson in.
Yeah, Dacian's a great player, great kid. He's got great size for a guard too. You don't see many guys with his skill level that also have his size, but he's just a guy that makes everybody better. There's not anything he can't do. He could score if he needed to score. He's got unbelievable vision as a passer. He has to score a lot for his high school team, but his default, he'd much rather pass the ball at times. So just really excited about it. You know, I think he's got a competitive streak also, which I think you have to be a great player. A lot of guys maybe have some talent, but they miss the most important thing, and that's being a competitor. So we play a competitive sport, so I think he's got that in him as well. So obviously, it's big for me and our staff, obviously, to be able to get a guy of his caliber from the West Coast in our first year in recruiting. We had our sights set on him early, so it was big for us.
How do you foresee him complimenting Tiger?
I foresee Dacian Nix as Dacian Nix.
Do you think they could play together as far as?
I think Dacian Nix can play with anybody.
Yeah.
And if people can't play with him, it would surprise me. I don't think, you can't have enough talent. Obviously, we're trying to rebuild our talent base here. So not just Dacian Nix, we have a couple more scholarships. We got our sights set on some other things. And the advantage of being able to coach these guys now, we've got 12 scholarship guys, 10 guys that are not seniors. So trying to evaluate, how the season's going to go and what we need as a team. Because it's easy to think you know what you need, and you're just in workouts.
Yeah.
So now that we're actually playing games, I think for us, we're going to lose Prince, who I think is going to be a double-figure scorer for us this year. So I think it's pretty evident we're probably, you can never have enough guys that can create offense. You can always teach defense. You can get creative on defense. You can change defenses. It's the beauty of college basketball. But scoring is important. That's why I say, like with Dacian Nix or Tiger Campbell or Jules Bernard, like I would say to you, why didn't you ask me how he's going to play with Jules Bernard? And I mean, we're going to have a lot of guys on our team, so they all have to play together. But you got to have talent. You can't win without talent. I would tell you this: great players at the high level, and the thing about guys that have played at UCLA and that go to schools like UCLA or other blue blood schools, they all know that there's going to be. I would say that they all expect that there's going to be other blue blood talent at those schools, but that's why they pick those schools. Like guys that don't want to play with other great players, they don't pick schools like UCLA. Like in my time, that's kind of what they don't. Like Dacian Nix never once asked me about playing time. Guys like that. I don't think Tiger Campbell's worried about his playing time. It's just not. Really good players don't worry about stuff like that.
You anticipate having more signings in the early period?
I would say doubtful.
You had a nice, I know improvement with young teams is never linear, but that second half of the last game seemed like a nice kind of step forward for these guys. Were you encouraged by that and building off of that?
I think, hey, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. I think there's really no way to be stagnant. And that you'll hear me say that all year. You got to constantly try to get better. And that's the fight as a coach, because it's not about the result of the game, doesn't tell you if you're improving. To be able to score, we have to get better in a lot of ways. I think we're learning how to compete harder for 40 minutes. That would be the obvious. We stepped up our intensity as that game went on the defensive end. But we have to get so much better at execution. It's going to be, when you play against teams that you can't just out-rebound. Like right now, our offense is coming off the glass and not the free throw line. And we've got to get better in our first shot execution. But I think a lot of teams are like that right now, to be honest with you. Unless you got everybody back and you know where your shots are coming from. And we don't. We're a work in progress. And we're still trying to, as coaches, we're figuring out, okay, who to get the ball to where. you know, and you know, like Cody Riley's a guy we can get the ball to, but he hadn't been out of bed in 3 days. He just gave us some minutes because he's a soldier. But he's a guy that you can get the ball to that can play offense. But he really wasn't part of the game plan against Santa Barbara because he hadn't been out of bed in 3 days. So we had to figure out. Well, so we're doing it on the fly, really. The players are learning on the fly. We're adjusting on the fly as coaches, as an offensive unit.
Is Cody better now?
Yeah, yeah. He did. I mean, he's had the chills and all that, just, you know, normal sick stuff.
How about Sharif?
His hip's bothering him,
Yep.
so we'll see. What is today?
Wednesday.
So we got 2 more days. So he's day to day. He did some stuff yesterday, but it's tough. You know, when you're bony, you tend to get hit in the bones more. He's a bony guy, so his hip is a little more exposed just because of the way he's built.
With-
Jalen Hill getting shots before practice, has his work ethic gone into his nice start to the season?
Since I've been here, Jalen in the classroom and in the gym, his effort has been tremendous. You know, and I would say that you know, it shows. And you just look at his body versus watching film of him play last year, and look at his body now. And it's just, you know, he and I talk about. It's a big difference between being a guy that comes off the bench and a starter. Starter, you have to be accountable at all times. You have to concentrate. You can't get tired. The things that, like, coaches, you hear us talk about, it's hard for fans to understand. Why couldn't he just go in and play? Well, it's not high school. It's a lot harder. A lot harder. Bigger court. A lot more going on in a college game where you can get exploited. A lot more to remember, a lot harder to stay focused. But he's really worked hard. He's a poster child for the guy that's putting in the work, and you're seeing him improve.
With two regular season games under your belt, do you feel more comfortable? Do
I feel more comfortable
with the direction of the team and what you have to do going forward?
I mean, a little bit, but I think I'll never feel comfortable, by the way. I'll always think we got to get better. I think what happens when you start to play games, though, you start to get some clarity on the things you need to work on. So I think when you start, because other teams and their coaches, they devise a game plan that they think gives them the best chance. And you start to see, like, okay, what are they trying to take away? What are the things we need to get better at? That's why I mentioned, like, our half-court execution. And our fast break execution, to be really pointed about it. We worked hard on our own offense yesterday, full court and half court. We've got to keep the ball moving so we can attack quicker. We tend to hold the ball too long. And then when we do have to set up, like a lot of teams, you know, right now, guys, instead of executing the play, they're just trying to remember where to go because it's not second nature to them. But that's normal when you have a lot of guys playing in a new style, but also just they didn't play a lot last year. So not only is it new for them, a lot of them they weren't starters. So it's going to take us some time. But yeah, you get clarity the more games you play.
UNLV, what do they bring to the table that you're going to have to be aware of? And
They're big. They're big and strong. They rebound the ball. They're plus 10 or 11 on the glass in their 3 games. They've already played 2 high major opponents in Kansas State and Cal. Could have won both those games. Overtime, tough losses. Amari Hardy's a great player. Creates a lot of offense for himself and his teammates off the dribble. They got the point guard Long from Texas, who's like a starter in the Big 12. So those 2 guys alone are really our high major guards. They're not the deepest team in the world, but they got a couple more transfers that can shoot the ball. So it shows. I mean, they could easily beat Kansas State and Cal, both very close losses. So I don't think they're going to be a shock of playing us because they've already seen another high major team. It's not like they were at home, just blowing teams out. So I think that's an advantage for them. They've been in a couple dog fights already. But Amari Hardy's very, very good player. Very good player. I tried to recruit him at Cincinnati some. He can really he can get his own points. He doesn't need screens. He doesn't need to pick and roll. He doesn't need screens, and he can go get it.
Are you happy with the way that your team is rebounding?
I'd say, like I say, we're getting to the foul line, and our rebounding has been the things statistically that we've done the best so far. Can always get better. You know, when Chris Smith, as a small forward, you know, which we don't really talk about positions, but it gives you 3 guys with size. I think, you know, Cody was sick. I think he can do a better job on the offensive glass. So that's kind of always been a mark of one of my teams. And it just so happens that this team, we look a lot of ways like some of my Cincinnati teams. We got size and athleticism, you know. We got to do a better job, though, like I said, with screening and executing. Because we got some shooters, we got to do a better job of passing and executing so we can get our shooters some better shots.
Prince Ali had a pretty solid second half.
Who's that?
Prince Ali.
Oh.
How's his ankle? Is it bothering him?
It's funny, you know, I'm not an injury guy. You guys are going to keep asking me, so I probably should start asking Shane. You know, I coach the guys that when we start, we meet and we go to stretch. If they go over there and start stretching, I assume they're practicing, and I just go. You know, if a guy's out, he's out. I just think if you talk about injuries as a coach, the players will think about it. You know, I think you as long as you got 5 guys on scholarship, there's a way to win a game. So that's just. So I really don't know because I haven't asked him.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it, guys.